Making my way downtown to Ellie's house, and I threw the song pattern off, but I don't care. Hello! Aunt Ruthie?
Were you followed?
Does the creepy guy in the bushes who tries to feed ponies condensed milk count?
What? No?
Then nope. What's up?
I just don't want there to be more witnesses than necessary for what's to come. Follow me.
Ooh, vague mysteries, y'all. Ooh, I know what we're doing. I gotcha. We're being intrepidatious. World to discover!
Okay, Jasper, listen. I'm sending you into a very dangerous situation. Acharky has been watching season 3 of MLP and he needs that pizza.
The fool! Wait, why would that be dangerous? The season was literally cut in half. Why they cut it in half, I dunno.
Have you ever watched all of it in one sitting? Because he just did.
Oh, madam, I think you underestimate my sense of judgment. I'm a doofus, not psychotic.
Well then, time to be a doofus and bring my husband that pizza. You're going in, soldier.
Do I gotta? What if he has rabies?
I have a certain blue bowler hat bubble brain on my contacts list.
Traitor!
My husband comes first. Now go give him that pizza!
Fine, give me a sec. If I die, there's a map to my Sam & Max action figure collection back at the pizzeria. Study it, memorize it, then burn it!
Okay.
Okay. Michigan! Hello? Acharky? You in here? Are you gonna jump out of the shadows and lay eggs in my lower intestine? If you do, please tell me.
Is that a buffalo chicken pizza I smell?
Yes? And I didn't know if you wanted ranch or white sauce, so I put both on the sides and,
Put the box on the floor.
I'm putting it on the floor. See, this is me putting it on the floor. See. We're all friends here, buddy. Friends who still like the use of their spleen. Oh God, I'm gonna die.
Leave the room. No matter what you hear, don't open the door.
Yes, Mommy. Yay! That may have been an overreaction.
Wait for it.
It wasn't an overreaction. It was an underreaction.
I told you to go in prepared.
You're right. I should have brought Ronaldo, too. He could have at least said, "Excuse me." Oh, what happened to him? How did Season 3 cause all that?
The DVD kept on erroring its spike at your service. He had to watch it 3 times.
Oh, that one where Spike is. Oh, yeah, that'll do it. That'll cause a few damages. So, how long before he is able to rejoin society?
Yeah!
I feel better. Well, time to put the video together.
So, how much do you bench? You want some condensed milk, Danny Pony? Oh, go home already, Cletus! Ugh. Every day with this guy. Every day!
Hello everyone! As I mentioned in my previous video, Lauren Faust had stepped down from being in charge of the series at the end of Season 2, and fans were worried about the future of Friendship is Magic. Would the quality of the show dip? Was this going to be the end of the fandom? Considering how long it's been since Season 3 aired, it's safe to say the answer to these questions is no. Season 3 gets a bad rap as being the worst season of the show's run, but as I rewatched it for this video, I wouldn't call this run of episodes bad at all, with one exception I'll get to later. Even without Faust at the helm, the creative team at DHX would continue to create some great episodes, characters, and concepts for years to come. Picking up not long after the royal wedding, Season 3 opens up with a two-part story introducing the Crystal Empire, a kingdom that has been lost to time until recently, with its inhabitants, the Crystal Ponies, waking up from a long slumber. You heard me right, Crystal Ponies. A race of ponies that basically shine like gemstones. Here come the shiny OCs! These episodes also introduce a new antagonist with King Sombra, an evil stallion who enslaved the Crystal Empire eons ago and was responsible for the Empire disappearing. We all knew that Discord was a hard act to follow after Season 2, and I get what the writers were trying to achieve with King Sombra being more of a force of evil that haunts the Empire than just being a character. The very mention of his name is more than enough to terrify the Crystal Ponies. The problem with this approach, however, is that Sombra doesn't do a whole lot other than growl and snarl, being this big mist cloud, and there's no personality to him other than he evil. The most I can remember about Sombra is the design of his character, which looks good, but it's like when you see an action figure in a store, but you know nothing about the character behind it, so despite how cool it may look, you end up not caring about it because there's no personality to enjoy about it. Take that, everyone who said my childhood was nothing but toy commercials. One thing I did love about this opening two-parter is that Twilight Sparkle was not able to simply solve this problem all on her own. The day is saved not only because of the other 5 pony friends, but because of Spike. From the start of part 1, Twilight has this expectation that she's the one that needs to do everything in order to live up to her mentor, Princess Celestia. This idea that she can't do everything herself means that she's a failure. Thankfully, she has friends who care like Spike. If Spike wasn't there to help, Sombra would have turned the Crystal Empire into Mordor. This goes along with the lesson that Twilight still needs to learn herself, that she doesn't have to do everything by herself. She's not alone, and she's able to succeed when she accepts the help of those around her. The Crystal Empire isn't the strongest opening, but it's not terrible. After the opening, we move into the problem of the week formula, with one such problem for both the characters and the writers: bringing back Discord. People loved Discord, but the only problem is that he was an antagonistic, chaotic force possessing magic that allowed him to do almost anything. The last time we saw him, the main 6 turned him into a statue. I get the impression that the creative team didn't want to bring Discord back simply to be a reoccurring antagonist, so what else to do but show that the magic of friendship can even have an effect on a chaos god. I do like that Twilight Sparkle wasn't the one to reform Discord, but Fluttershy. The most timid character of the main 6 is the one to teach a chaos entity why having friends is more important than just doing whatever you want. While this is the only episode of the season to have Discord, we would get some good episodes with him in the future. There are many who criticize FIM, stating that every antagonist can simply be reformed as long as someone is willing to be friends with them. It may seem hokey, but having Discord around as a reoccurring character in the series is pretty great in my opinion. Another major development for the series came in the form of Twilight Sparkle getting her wings. The finale for Season 3 closes with Twilight Sparkle ascending to an alicorn. This was something that caused quite a stir in the fandom. There were some pretty vocal fans that were not happy about this change. Personally, I wasn't too fond of the idea at first, but considering how Twilight was being mentored by Princess Celestia herself, it would make sense in the long run. Before Lauren Faust stepped down from the series, she made it clear that her intentions from the start was that Twilight Sparkle would be Celestia's successor. However, I wasn't the biggest fan of how this change was executed. The finale, Magical Mystery Cure, I felt was a victim of the creative team of the show being split between making episodes for Season 3 and the first Equestria Girls movie that was in production at the same time. While we got a 2-part opener, we only got a single episode for the finale, which did not have the best execution in my opinion. This episode sees 5 of the main 6 having their cutie marks swapped, which sounds like a decent premise. However, we find out that this is caused by Twilight experimenting with an old spell sent to her by Celestia, and she has no idea what it does. With Twilight being the most level-headed character with a respect for magic as a science, you think she would take some precautions while studying the spell, right? Nope! She just straight up casts the spell just to see what will happen. I'm sorry, but girl, have you lost your flopping mind? For all she knows, that spell could have done something far more horrible than a cutie mark swap.
From one to another, another to one, a mark of one's destiny singled out alone, fulfilled.
Thankfully, Twilight is able to clean up the mess she accidentally made by reminding her friends who they are and what they care about. With that problem solved, we see Twilight Sparkle ascend into becoming an alicorn princess. There was a lot of scrutiny from the fanbase claiming that in the world of MLP, if you're a good enough friend, you can practically ascend to godhood. While the execution of this episode may have been hasty, when you step back and look at the big picture, despite all of the criticism of this finale, the creative team at DHX did the best they could. While Friendship is Magic got 9 seasons, DHX had no idea they would get that many seasons at the time of Season 3's production. For all they knew, Season 3 or 4 could have been the last seasons they would have had to tell the stories they wanted to tell. If anything, making sure Twilight got her wings was probably one of the big objectives that DHX wanted to accomplish before the series ended. As we would later see, while Twilight has now become a princess, her journey would be far from over with more stories to tell. As I said before, there are a lot of things to criticize about Season 3, but I feel there are still plenty of quality episodes. Which brings me to my top 3 episodes of the season. Starting off with Episode 3, Too Many Pinkie Pies, written by Dave Polsky. This is one of those episodes that has lived in my head rent-free, given how many times I have rewatched it. With an episode centered around Pinkie, you know there's going to be some laughs, and the writers certainly make use of Pinkie's ability to poke a finger at things beyond the fourth wall, including the MLP franchise itself. Aside from stellar writing, I have to give it up to the animators that were tasked with coming up with all the various animation cycles they had to make for this episode alone. The lesson learned is something I feel has value to anyone no matter your age. The dilemma of life when there are so many things you hate to miss out on, but in order to stay sane, you have to weigh the pros and cons of your choices, make tough decisions, and not worry so much about what you miss out on, and focus on what you can enjoy. One Bad Apple, written by Cindy Morrow, is my second favorite episode for a few good reasons. The first being the lesson told in the story about bullying, and despite how mean someone can be to you, it's not a great idea to respond in kind. We're introduced to Babs Seed, who is Apple Bloom's cousin. At first, things are okay until Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon show up to tease Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo over their lack of cutie marks, as they do. Babs herself then joins in on the teasing, not wanting to be made fun of herself, to the point of becoming a massive bully. The girls decide to get some revenge, but discover that Babs has been the victim of being bullied herself over her own lack of a cutie mark. Seeking out petty revenge, the girls discover that they weren't really solving the problem, but being part of it.
Oh, why does life have to be so ironic?
Having to deal with a bully is something many kids face, and it's important to show that some bullies have been subject to a lot of awful treatment themselves. This episode also has my #1 song of the season. The tune named after Babs Seed is a straight up bop. It's catchy and does all the right things a good pop song should. Not to mention this animation cycle that continues to give the internet life. Before I get to my most favorite episode of the season, I want to address one episode in particular that really did not sit right with anyone who watches this show. Episode 10, Spike at Your Service, has got to be one of the worst episodes of Season 3, if not one of the worst episodes of the series' run. The narrative is one of the most hokey and cliche stories used in the medium of kids' television. The idea that Spike has his life saved by Applejack, so now he feels he owes her a life debt, having to do anything she wants, but he only ends up being a nuisance, and the other main characters have to come up with a scenario to make things between Spike and AJ even, only to backfire, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, you've seen this story. Now, I understand that there's really only a handful of original narratives that exist in all storytelling, and everything since then is just another version of those stories, but even if you ignore the fact that this story has been done in cartoons since I was 10, on its own merits, it still doesn't hold up. Spike is a character who, despite his young age, is shown to be very capable and dependable. He keeps up with Twilight basically being her flopping secretary. Last season, he also knew who to turn to when Twilight needed help during her freakout in Lesson 0. At the start of the season, he saves the Crystal Empire! Yes, Spike is a child, but the dude has proven how invaluable he is to those around him. It comes off as a bit of an insult to the character that he goes from being dependable to being a bumbling klutz that screws up simple tasks. As I have said before, sometimes bad stories like this can happen when you work on a TV show with deadlines and limited time and resources to get things done. Sometimes you have to pump out something to get an episode made, even if the path of least resistance is a bad narrative like this one. I'm not condemning the writers for doing what they had to do in the time they had, but at the same time, I don't have to like this episode either. With that out of the way, my most favorite episode of the season is Wonderbolts Academy by Meriwether Williams. Since the very first episode, Rainbow Dash has been very vocal about her dream of joining the Wonderbolts, a group of the best flyers in the world of FIM. This episode shows us the first steps of Dashy's journey towards her life goal, not only to join the Wonderbolts, but to be the best there is. During her training, Dash meets Lightning Dust, whose competitive nature has her one-upping Dash herself, but at the cost of safety of everyone else around her. I felt that Lightning Dust's character served two major purposes in this episode. The first being that no matter how hard you train, how good you get at something, no matter how much talent you have, there is going to be someone who is better than you. It can be hard to accept that when you put so much time and effort into something, but that's how life can be.
And the world is silly.
The second purpose is that Lightning Dust is a reminder of who Rainbow Dash may have been before she became friends with the other main characters. Rainbow Dash is a character that has worn her competitive nature on her sleeve, but as we have seen her grow and mature with her friends, she cares more about the well-being and feelings of those around her more than being the fastest flyer. Dash reminds the audience why she is the element of loyalty, showing that it is important to do things safely and be mindful of those around you. That being the best at something isn't worth being an inconsiderate jerk.
If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way.
Mad respect to the Rainbow Pegasus. Season 3 had a lot of challenges for the creative team at DHX. With a fan base that was more vocal than ever and a dramatic change to one of the main characters, it seemed as if the odds were stacked against DHX. Not to mention having a portion of the staff off of the show to make a 90-minute special. In spite of all of that, I feel like Season 3 was able to deliver some memorable episodes that I'm sure many fans enjoy even to this day. As a whole, Season 3 may not have been as great as the two seasons before it, but the creative team did the best they could in the time that they had with fewer resources. This season may be middling, but it wasn't terrible, which is why I give My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 3 a rating of 3 stars out of 5.